Hello and thanks for joining us for a look back at some of the stories we covered on Community Update in 2020. The new year started off with a big lottery win for a group of office workers in Coon Rapids.
It is unbelievable.
If a picture's worth 1,000 words, these smiles add up to a cool million.
I couldn't believe it when I checked the tickets, but it feels really good.
Dustin Uran has the $1 million check he and his coworkers picked up at lottery headquarters in Roseville. For the past 7 years, this graphics designer has been point man for his office lottery pool.
We usually start the pool if it gets like above 300 million.
Uran bought the $1 million winner at the Speedway just a few blocks away from his office.
We do quick picks.
Split 28 ways with the office pool, $1 million comes out to just under $36,000 before taxes.
It's kind of exciting.
Billing lead Darlene McPherson grabbed her share of the prize.
You think it's going to be a lot. It's not quite as much money, but it's still enough to do whatever people want to do with it.
Darlene dreams of travel to England. Dustin plans to pay bills and take his young family on a trip of a lifetime.
We actually had a trip planned to Costa Rica, so now we're going to be able to pay that off.
As you might imagine, the lottery pool for Lucky Team APG has gotten wider.
Every time he says, "Oh, the jackpot's up there. Let's, who wants to go in?" I don't miss, because you never know.
Steve Antis reporting for CTN Update.
The group isn't stopping there and plans to continue playing the big lottery jackpots. Well, homeowners filled the Coon Rapids City Council chambers back in early February with home improvement projects on their minds as they learned more about the city's Front Door Grant program.
They went with a similar color.
The results of last year's Front Door Grant program
Before and after
are easy to see. That is, after all, the point.
Once a certain home does the project, then the neighbors start noticing.
Front Door offers grants up to $5,000 to help homeowners pay for improvements to the front of their home.
Yeah, it has an effect. It probably will spur on other people to do it.
Residents filled the city council chambers on Wednesday during a Front Door workshop, eager to learn how they might nab a grant this year. In March, 80 homes will be randomly chosen to receive grant money.
This was all lawn, of course.
John Blaha received a grant last year. He replaced and widened his driveway, which was in need of repair, and thanks to the extra funds from the city, he added a front patio and re-landscaped the yard as well.
It really allowed bringing in a professional to do it, or I would have done the work myself, and it would not have looked like it looks now. The professional landscaping came up with a very good design, and so we got what we wanted, more than what we wanted, and it did improve the look of the front of our house.
Oftentimes, cities will have low-interest loans available for homeowners to make improvements to their property, but that's what they normally are loans that have to be paid back, normally on a monthly basis. So to have a grant program is fairly unusual. There's very few grant programs out there anymore.
To qualify, a project must include at least one beautification item, an accent like columns or stone, a new door, or updated landscaping.
But it was in need of a dressing up.
From his new patio, John saw neighbors follow suit.
They just upgraded the whole community.
For Community
They
Update,
could dress the whole thing up.
I'm Jennifer Anderson.
In all, $215,000 was given out by the Coon Rapids Home Improvement Foundation. If you're interested in applying for a grant, look for details on the 2021 Front Door program in the coming weeks. Well, in an effort to improve customer service, Comcast opened a new retail store in Coon Rapids this year.
What a great day, and we're glad to be here.
Members of the Metro-North Chamber of Commerce officially welcomed Comcast's new Xfinity store to the neighborhood. In the past, if a customer needed help with equipment, it meant a drive to Brooklyn Park.
Well, our customers had to drive, several miles just to get, the products they need and get taken care of. So from a customer experience perspective, it's the most important thing we can do is be closer to our customers.
The Coon Rapids Xfinity store is one of 6 new stores Comcast plans to open this year. They offer hands-on displays for all of their Xfinity products and services, including mobile.
We've got the new Apple phones, as you can see. We've got, the ability to come in and change your service, upgrade your service, and get your customer experience needs taken care of.
ET Phone Home.
Account manager Jordan Hurley demonstrated the X1 operating system with voice remote, which is like a search engine for your TV.
Say something in the voice remote you'd like to watch, and with our X1 platform, it's going to help you find that.
Last fall, Comcast introduced a brand new video service for their internet customers called Flex.
It is a new product right now, and it's for the over-the-top users that just have internet only. It's a video product that they can actually sign into these great, streaming services through Flex.
It gives you access to all of your streaming applications all in one area, but through our X1 platform with our voice remote.
The Internet of Things on display at an Xfinity store near you. I'm Steve Antis for Community Update.
The Xfinity store is located between Cub Foods and Walmart in Riverdale. Appointments are encouraged, but walk-ins are accepted. Well, dozens of students, alumni, and community members came together in the past year to create a big mural at Anoka Community College.
All this work is about bridging.
Inside the Visual Arts Center at Anoka Community College.
We work dark to light.
Color and community,
like the complexity of our stories,
blend together. This paint party is one more step in a months-long process.
So what number do you want?
It's paint by number on a massive scale.
Do you want more or are you done?
Hundreds of people are painting dozens of panels that will eventually combine to make a 1,000 square foot mural on the Coon Rapids campus.
So,
at the helm,
we go forward,
is Greta McLean, owner and artistic director of Good Space Murals.
And we started to just feel out, what would a connected community look like? If we say we want you to feel safe here, when do you feel safe? What does that look like when you are safe? And just listening, we gathered feedback from over 500 people.
Here you go. And then the brush sizes are done there.
Student mural mentees like Miles Gruber helped gather input from hundreds of people on campus.
Stories, their colors, their ethnicity, what they believe in. It's going to be able to, have people open up, look at it, ask more questions about it, being more curious and more welcome to the school.
Each stroke is a piece of the whole. Many hands working together to bridge the many differences that make up a college community.
We are just offering the idea that maybe this space is different, so that when people walk in, they're like, oh, I feel different here. I'm going to try to show up in a different way.
For Community Update, I'm Jennifer Anderson.
Anoka Community College received a $56,000 grant from the Minnesota State Arts Board to fund the Community Mural Project. Well, the pandemic left many looking for something to do to get out of the house in a socially distanced manner. A Saturday night car cruise became a popular attraction this summer.
This is fun.
There were classics, muscle cars, and hot rods too, all on display up and down Coon Rapids Boulevard.
It's a one-of-a-kind car.
Peggy Newman and Rick Frederick from Ham Lake came to the Coon Rapids cruise for the first time with their custom car.
It's a 1970 Monte Carlo I've had for 14 years, and it came from California, totally rust-free. It's got a stroke 350 motor, custom interior. It's been lowered 3 inches, custom brakes, wheels, tires.
The Facebook group Twin Cities Car Cruising messaged its members about driving along Coon Rapids Boulevard just for fun. Organizers were surprised by the response.
I guess I really wasn't expecting to see all the cars, and everybody is being really respectful, and there's a lot of fun cars out here.
What has turned into a weekly cruising event now gives a bright spot to car owners who were disappointed after the spring car shows were canceled due to the pandemic.
Back to the 50s show got canceled, and the Good Guy show in Iowa got canceled too.
It's very well organized so far. There's a lot of cars, but it's actually pretty mellow. People are driving respectfully, and that's good signs.
In Coon Rapids, Steve Antis for Community Update.
Along with the fun, the weekly cruises resulted in some complaints related to noise, traffic, and driving behaviors. Those issues are being reviewed. It's not yet clear if organizers are planning cruises in 2021. The Coon Rapids Police Department is getting some help from above thanks to a new tool put into service this year.
anytime that the UAS is flying, you're going to see 2 officers with it. One we actually call the pilot, and the other is what we call the visual observer.
This quadcopter may look like a toy, but with its onboard camera, can help officers quickly cover more ground in less time.
For example, this morning, myself and Detective Durrett were in the city of St. Francis assisting them looking for a party with warrants.
Coon Rapids police detectives Adam Jacobson, Dan Durrett, and Justin Havorka are all FAA certified drone pilots.
So we're authorized to fly it at 400 feet, which is the highest the FAA allows us to fly.
They also got a waiver from the FAA to fly at night.
So we have the ability to see in both visible light as well as in infrared light.
As for the drone's stylish logo, the police reached out for help from the Industrial Arts Department at the high school.
Mr. Stork of the Coon Rapids High School, he recommended Peyton and Jack to me. They came, they sat down in my office, they kind of said, well, what are you looking for? I gave them kind of a blank canvas and said, see what you can come up with.
Each one of these is a different layer.
Together, Peyton Martinick and Jack Bornes produced the logo with the skills they learned using Photoshop.
It was a really fun project to do. Photoshop was really fun, and doing this gave me a chance to use that skill better.
It was a really cool opportunity to work with the police and use our skills to do this project.
The officers were impressed with how it turned out.
When it flies, you can see the battery pack. You'll see right on there Cardinal 1, and you'll see Jack and Peyton's design.
From Crooked Lake Park, Steve Antis reporting for Community Update.
Jack and Peyton submitted their final design just before the COVID-19 pandemic shut down schools. They each received thank you certificates from the police department while in quarantine. Up next, a Coon Rapids 6th grader with a science experiment that is truly out of this world.
3, 2, 1.
Imagine launching an experiment into space on a real NASA rocket, or reaching the edge of space with a NASA high-altitude balloon. Imagine conducting that experiment at just 11 years of age.
I thought it was really cool how kids could put something in space.
That is Ruby Demmer's current reality. The Coon Rapids student entered the global competition Cubes in Space. Her cube will join dozens more on a trip to near space later this summer.
They're going up in a high altitude balloon, and the atmosphere is replicating the Martian atmosphere because it's quite similar.
You might think the NASA-sounding rocket garners all the attention, but Ruby chose the balloon launch after she was inspired by the book The Martian and decided to test materials that might be used for shelter on Mars.
It's in here, it's gonna go up, and when it comes back down, we're gonna see if there's any leaks in it.
Ruby spent many months researching highly sophisticated materials and navigating setbacks.
We talked to some material scientists, and they were like, yeah, it's not going to work very well. And we were like, ah! It taught me that science can go wrong sometimes. Wow, I did all this research, and now we're using chip bags.
In the end, Ruby's cube contains sealed pouches made from a chip bag, a Ziploc freezer bag, and a Mylar balloon. This week, she mails her cube back to join all the others that were selected from around the world. And then she waits.
I feel confident that it'll probably work. I don't feel confident that it will work. I feel confident it will probably work. I mean, science is science. It'd be kind of nice if one of them worked.
After the balloon returns to Earth, Ruby's cube will make its way back to Coon Rapids later this fall. For Community Update, I'm Jennifer Anderson.
Unfortunately, due to the pandemic, the launch dates were postponed by NASA until sometime in 2021. COVID-19 isn't stopping progress on some major improvements at a popular summer attraction at Bunker Hills.
They tore out the whole wave pool.
After 3 decades, the signs of damaged concrete led to this renovation underway of the state's first wave pool. It was originally built back in 1988 in the middle of Bunker Hills Regional Park. Since then, it stands as Minnesota's largest outdoor water park.
The county board decided that they wanted to add a contemporary wave pool.
Anoka County Parks Director Jeff Perry oversees the project, which includes a wave pool with advanced technology.
It'll have 8 different wave roller features. It'll have an added children's lagoon with some shade structures that will provide some shading.
A shallow 3,000 square foot lagoon will tie in with the wave pool on the southeast corner.
My favorite would be the fact that it's now going to be heated. For someone who doesn't really like that cold water as much, I think that's going to help us a lot.
Anoka County Commissioner Mike Gamesh toured the construction with Parks Director Perry.
It'll be a walk-through open air in the middle with bench seating.
As part of the project, an innovative family restroom building will quickly become a fan favorite.
That'll include 4 family restrooms, a lactation room, and a rental area.
Anoka County is spending $6.5 million on improvements, $4 million from the county's Asset Preservation Fund and $2.5 million from Minnesota's Parks and Trails Legacy Fund.
There'll be a separate maintenance support building located on the east side of the water park.
So for now, if you want to get relief from the heat at the beach, you'll have to take a dip in Crooked Lake.
We stand ready, we're poised, and we look forward to providing a new and improved wave pool.
From Bunker Beach, Steve Antis reporting for Community Update.
Construction should be finished by May. Bunker Beach traditionally opens its doors to the public the first Saturday in June, and they plan to host a grand opening celebration on that day. Well, it took 2 construction seasons to complete, but in August, Hanson Boulevard reopened to traffic with a new overpass at the double railroad tracks.
It is the goal of first responders to get to the scene of the emergency as quickly and safely as possible. This location has long been a challenge in our community to get to those calls quickly.
For years, Fire Chief John Piper has been the man behind the Herculean task of getting a railroad overpass built in Coon Rapids, so it was appropriate for him to serve as the Master of Ceremonies.
Senator Newton.
Many who made this bridge possible gathered to mark its completion.
We're standing here today on this bridge because of a strong partnership between several stakeholders who recognize the need for a grade-separated overpass.
The 2017 Minnesota legislature passed the bonding bill signed by Governor Dayton, which committed the state to paying half the costs of the project.
Trains would block the crossing from 6 to 8 minutes, sometimes as much as 25 minutes. And as somebody who drove through here a lot for door knocking and coffee with constituents at Caribou, I noticed.
A passing train showed up to share the moment.
Timely.
The Burlington Northern Santa Fe put in money for the bridge, and since the North Star commuter rail runs through here, the county's Transit Improvement Board put up a large share.
We were allowed $4.2 million from them. The city coughed up $1.1 million. The county's in for $1.4 million.
This is a big thing.
While still under construction, the new bridge got credit for helping speed up the emergency response for Mayor Jerry Cook's mother.
But on June 16th, when my mom collapsed outside in her yard having suffered a major stroke, and with our top-rated Mercy Hospital and our EMTs and 2 of our 3 fire stations on the opposite side of the railroad tracks, the fact that no one responding was delayed by a train was huge.
3, 2, 1. Cut the ribbon and the hose. Come on, firefighters are supposed to be first.
And as the public safety vehicles paraded over the bridge, Chief Piper summed up the journey it took to get here.
The goal of allowing public safety to respond to emergencies without being obstructed at the railroad crossing is huge.
Besides the improved public safety response times, the overpass eliminates traffic backups from trains. A big loss for the police department and the community this past summer. In August, Officer Greg COSS, a 30-year member of the department, passed away of natural causes at his home. He was 53 years old.
He was genuine. What you see is what you got. There was no acting with Greg. I can't think of anybody who was loved by more, quite honestly.
Greg COSS was tall in stature and big in heart. A patrol officer until his last day, COSS trained many of his colleagues on the Coon Rapids police force who now grieve his unexpected death.
He was a larger-than-life personality for me from the time that I came on here. He was an example of professionalism and dedication to his job like nobody else, quite honestly. He's just one of those guys that an informal leader on the department that took a lot of pride in the way he did his job, and it showed all the time.
His sudden passing on Monday was met with shock and prompted a display of respect equal to the imprint he leaves on the department. Coon Rapids Police and Fire and the wider law enforcement community formed a procession for their colleague and friend.
Everybody looked up to him and respected him, and yet he was a person that sort of transcended age. He has many friends that are 20 years younger than him. You know, he was a very social person, loved to hunt, loved to fish, and bonded a lot with the people that had common interests here at the department.
COSS began as a Coon Rapids Community Service Officer in 1988 and became a licensed police officer in 1991. While he had many specialty assignments throughout his career, his heart was with his shift work as a patrol officer. A widely shared picture of COSS on the job is a reminder of his gift for connecting with the people he served.
That's probably the picture that embodies him the most, because he was a charitable, caring person. And the best thing I can say is that he set that example for others to follow. People are largely devastated. He's a guy that can't be replaced.
COSS is survived by his children, his longtime girlfriend, and many other loved ones. He grew up in the North Metro and was a graduate of Blaine High School. Well, it wasn't the celebration they had hoped for, but the pandemic didn't stop the Halloween capital of the world from marking the 100th anniversary of Anoka Halloween.
Each year when the wind chills and the leaves start to change, this little river city shines.
It's a season. Anoka celebrates Halloween throughout the whole month of October, and it's like ingrained into what it is to be an Anokan.
A century of tradition will do that to a community. Even during a pandemic, signs of Anoka's signature holiday are everywhere.
So this year is our 100th year. We started our festival in 1920, and here we are amongst all the chaos and trying to work with what we've got and make the best of it.
Perhaps the biggest change this year is the Grand Day Parade, which normally draws tens of thousands of people, but isn't feasible in the age of COVID. Instead, organizers landed on a reverse parade. People will drive along a designated route to enjoy floats and displays from their car.
It's a very hard thing to realize we can't do what we want to do, but we slowly just kept pushing forward. And I think that's what makes Anoka different.
I think Anoka will show its resiliency, and even though it's not the same, I think it will still be fantastic.
It's not exactly the centennial celebration John Jost and his committee spent the past 4 years planning. The 100th Anniversary Committee has a coffee table book coming out this month commemorating Anoka Halloween through the years. It all began as a way to curb escalating Halloween mischief after the turn of the century.
By 1919, folks had woken up on November 1st to outhouses tipped, farm animals let free, there were cows loose in the street, there were carriages put up on top of rooftops. So the pranks had just gotten out of hand, and so the townsfolk had decided something had to happen.
This is the site of the inaugural Anoka Halloween bonfire in 1920. Bells rang out at 7:30 that night, kicking off decades of Halloween celebrations to follow. This year, throughout the city, organizers ask people to honk horns, ring bells, and sound sirens at 7:30 on Halloween night to show that the spirit is still alive. For Community Update, I'm Jennifer Anderson.
Anoka Halloween is completely volunteer run, and work is already underway on next year's events. You can submit designs for the 2021 button now through January 31st. The other big story of 2020 besides the pandemic was the presidential election, which broke all sorts of records, including early voting.
Inside Anoka County Government Center, election judges are at work. Wednesday was the first day absentee ballots could be opened and prepared for counting. Anoka County has already received more than 65,000 absentee ballots. That's nearly double the total absentee ballots collected for the presidential election 4 years ago. And there is still more than a week to go.
Across Anoka County, we've seen a tremendous number of voters that are deciding to vote early.
Anoka County Elections Manager Paul Linnell says there have been 95,000 ballot requests so far, breaking any and all previous absentee records. The county hired more temporary staff and election judges to keep pace. Most days between now and the election, the team will be here. These envelopes have already been checked and verified. Each ballot is then opened and removed from 2 separate envelopes. They confirm that the number of ballots and envelopes match up before it is fed into a tabulating machine.
The vast majority of ballots that we get back, we're able to accept without question.
Rejected ballots are rare, but when it does happen, the voter is notified and a replacement ballot is sent out. Not all states allow absentee ballots to be processed this early. Linnell says Minnesota's rules will lead to less confusion on Election Day.
We should have a pretty full picture of the election results that will get posted to the Secretary of State's site once the polls close at 8 p.m.
It's a head start the county is putting to full use to make voting as smooth and safe as possible.
Given the current social distancing requirements, the fact that so many people are voting early and voting by mail will mean that those who do choose to vote at the polling place on Election Day, they should be safe, and so should the election judges that are working at the polls.
Even though these ballots are processed early, no one sees the results until polls close November 3rd. For Community Update, I'm Jennifer Anderson.
In the end, more than 122,000 Anoka County voters requested an absentee ballot. Of those, about 105,000 ballots were returned and counted in the vote totals. Well, that brings us to the end of the show. We appreciate you watching Community Update throughout the year, and we look forward to sharing even more stories with you in 2021. Happy New Year.